All right, we're going to call to order this meeting of the Judiciary and Licensing Committee for Tuesday, June 2nd, 2020. Are there any citizens' comments? Citizens' comments. And for the last call, citizens' comments. Seeing none, we'll move on to number 3, approval of the May 19th, 2020 minutes.
Second.
So with that, that is approved. Moving on to, I'm sorry, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Number 4, the consent agenda. A, Beverage Operator Applications 2019 through 2021 of Christine Berger, Kevin Karlstrom, Misty Femmel, Megan Hart, Heather Rayton, Mary Jo Robis, Trinity Thompson, Rebecca Walter, and Jared Estad. B, Transient Merchant License Application from R&M Enterprises, Inc., DBA Snap Fireworks. C, Class B Combination Liquor and Fermented Malt Beverage Renewal Applications for 2020 through 2021 per the attached list. And then there were 29 of those. I don't need to read all those.
No, I'll attach them to the minute.
All right. D, Class B Fermented Malt Beverage Renewal Applications for 2021 per the attached list, which there was 2, and those will also be attached to the minutes. E, Class A Combination Liquor and Fermented Malt Beverage Renewal Applications for 2020 through 2021, which there are 19. Class B and F, Class B Fermented Malt Beverage Renewal Applications and Class C Wine Renewal Applications for 2021 per the attached list, which there will be 4. So anyone interested, those will be attached to the meeting minutes. All right, so.
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Thank you.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Moving on. We will skip over number 5 because there were no items removed from the consent agenda. 6, Beverage Operator Application of Willie Foster. And I believe this will be you, Assistant Chief Pat.
Looks like when Willie completed that, he listed that there were a couple felony convictions. Ordination, also failed to list the Marshfield Police Department for local policy.
Can you turn your mic on? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Am I on?
Yep. Yes.
And with that citation, he was found guilty in municipal court on 8/14/19. The felony arrests that Mr. Foster has that were not listed on 10/16/08 in DuPage County, Illinois. He was arrested and convicted for vehicle theft. That was actually a felony conviction on 12/8/08. That was not listed on his application. On 6/14/09, the Chicago Police Department, Illinois, arrested for burglary with a felony conviction on 3/22/09. This was partially listed on his application, the belief is. And then he has a 3rd felony conviction through the Marshfield Police Department for strangulation and suffocation. That felony conviction was on 3/17/2015. Individual is also on parole, probation. We initially received an email from probation agent who was not approving of her client having a bartender's license. However, I did have a follow-up conversation with her today. She does not want Mr. Foster to work in a bar. However, the belief is that he actually wants to work at the Baltus Bread and Butter, to which she would not have a big issue for. He is also off probation in July. So she does have some control over his employment. So if he were to try to work in a bar, she could refuse him that ability. But with him working at a fuel station, she isn't as concerned.
Okay. Any questions?
One of the questions I think we had when we first had this on our agenda a couple of weeks ago was whether or not those convictions had anything to do with drug and alcohol. And I don't know that we have.
Yeah, I don't have answers for that. I apologize. That was not passed on to me. I could actually, if you want to give me a minute, I can take a call and see if we were able to find it.
Is there any objections to him taking a minute to take a call?
Take a call.
Okay, with that, we will
The officer wasn't able to find that. That's in our computer archives. I do have a text message to the chief. If he gets back to me, I'll be happy to let you know if he was able to find that.
Okay. All right, so let's look at everything else here. Any questions?
That's really the only question I would have. And without that, I would say that we grant the license with 25 points. So that's for failure to complete the application properly.
Can we ask the attorney a
We
question?
can ask the attorney any question.
Just for my own peace of mind. So this felony that they're discussing is more than 2 years old. So if there was alcohol involved in that felony case, can we still apply points to it if it's more than 2 years old?
Yeah, the restriction on 2 years is specific under Chapter 125 in our code, Chapter 9. So the restriction is for 2 years if it's a violation for a Chapter 9 or Chapter 125. It wouldn't apply to other violations, but then the obvious issue that you folks seem to have a grasp on here is that any conviction for it to be considered needs to substantially relate to the licensed activity. So without that information, you're not able to make that determination.
Thank you.
Could we push this till the end of the meeting to see if we get a response back from the chief? We'll give him a little time. Does anyone have an issue with doing that?
Do you need a motion for me to table this till the end of the meeting?
I'll
Yeah.
take a
I
motion.
move the table.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign. So we will table that until the end of the meeting and possibly have more information at that time. All right, so we're on to number 7 then of the agenda. Beverage Operator Application of Kristopher Schnitzler.
Okay, for Mr. Schnitzler, he had some issues with his completion of the application as well. Mr. Schnitzler lists speeding in Marshfield, Wood County on 125 of 19. It was actually cited by the Wood County Sheriff's Department. That was a default conviction on 3/7 of 19. Mr. Schnitzler lists seatbelts in Marshfield, Wood County on 6/3/19. This is actually a state patrol citation he received in Dunn County. He was found guilty by default on July 11th of 2019. Mr. Schnitzler listed on 12/6 of 18 a disorderly with no location. This was in fact a drug arrest, and we can touch on that when we get to number 5 below. Mr. Schnitzler also lists 12720 a citation for seatbelt in Marshfield, Wood County. He was actually cited by the State Patrol on 12520 and found in default on 3/12 of 20. There's no noted felony arrests, no noted previous alcohol violations. In respect to the drug violation, he was arrested by the Marshfield Police Department for disorderly conduct, which is what he listed on his application on 11/18 of 18, with the original charge of possession of synthetic cannabinoids. The District Attorney's Office has amended the charge to disorderly conduct. The disposition of that was a guilty plea to disorderly conduct, and I believe that was in December of 2019. That's all I have.
Questions? Okay, so I have a couple things. So I feel like in counting the number, he listed everything, but it seems like he has wrong dates or counties or places. Am I right? It's so confusing.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, is that either by memory or, who could really say if it was intentionally skewed or if he just was confused about the agencies with this number of citations.
All right. So I feel like he probably, you can't guess what the reasoning for him not listing it correctly, but I feel like that he did try to list everything, maybe not correctly, but he did list. And then the disorderly did involve drugs. So are there any other questions or?
There is no conviction on that though. And it sounds as though there's been a plea deal or some kind of working out where that won't be a conviction, it's going to be a different conviction, so I don't know.
Correct.
That could be,
The conviction was for disorderly conduct, so that must have been through a plea deal of some kind. He was not convicted for the possession of the drugs.
But he can still be charged with because he was arrested for the drugs and it was a drug related.
So you're again you got a conviction, so we're not dealing with just an arrest, so that lets you consider it. But the question then becomes, does the circumstances, so even though it's amended from a drug charge to disorderly conduct, but if the circumstances substantially relate to the licensed activity, then you could do it. That's up to you folks to decide if it's substantially related, but if we equate this, say, for example, with an OWI that would be amended to a reckless, but the original charge was an OWI, so you know alcohol is involved, you could, in theory, take that reckless conviction and treat it as a substantially related because it involved alcohol. So it would be similar.
Okay, thank you. So, does anyone want to make a motion? Does anyone have any other questions? Do we want to talk?
the place he plans to work, GPM, I don't know what that is.
That is the old Balta stores
Oh.
that were purchased.
Gentlemen,
I would make a motion to grant a license with 25 points assessed for the previous drug arrest.
do I have a second?
Yes, I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? All right, so he will be granted his license with 25 points assessed for the prior disorderly with drug involved. All right. Let me see here, where are we at? Okay, so we are, now we're up to 8. Or you just want me to read it from here? Usually get it.
And I'm sorry, I
Okay.
should have listed on the agenda, he does have the right to hear this in open
Open or
hearing or
closed?
closed. So you don't have to read the closed until you hear from him first.
Okay. So, Mr. Holmes, you have the right for this to be heard in an open session, which means that the cameras would continue to roll, the door would stay open, and anybody in here could remain. Or we can go to a closed session in which the cameras would be turned off. The door, of course, would be closed, and anybody not involved directly would be asked to leave. At that point in time, you will be able to present to us why you feel we made the wrong decision. In addition, we will be able to ask you questions, and then typically, depending on your choice, then we make a decision. We'll deliberate and make a decision. So, would you prefer for that to be an open or closed session? Okay. Okay. All right. So we'll see here. You want me just to read this or 8? Right. Okay. So this is an open session regarding James E. Holmes' reconsideration hearing of his beverage operator application. All right, I'm going to ask you to come forward, and anybody that you want, you can kind of come up here. And Deb, do you want to go over why the license was denied so that he understands exactly what went on, and then we'll go from there.
Certainly. So the committee made a motion to deny your application based on the fact that you failed to list some of your violations on your application, as well as they found they assessed 25 points for your alcohol and drug convictions, bringing it to 50 demerit points, and a bartender can only have 50 demerit points before your license is denied or revoked. Therefore, that's why we give you the opportunity to request this reconsideration hearing.
Do you understand all that? Okay. So do you want to give us your side of the story and tell us why you think that you should be granted the license?
First, I do want to touch process. Father. Or, other than the that other than that, I've been doing everything I'm supposed to get out of trouble. This month, actually, I'll be completing my 1 year of probation. I'm actually in a process of putting me and my family in our own home. So that's why I feel that I should be granted.
Okay. And who do you have here with you today?
I have my boss, Ms. Paula.
Okay.
And the microphone.
Oh, have you take the microphone too? Sorry.
I'm the store leader at the store gas station, and James obviously is my associate, and I just came on just on behalf to say that he's a very dependable person, shows up to work on time, very hardworking, very good with the guests, excellent customer service, and I hope that you would reconsider and grant him a beverage license so he could stay on board. Otherwise, we would terminate.
So he absolutely has to have that. There's no job available without that operator's
Unfortunately, no,
license.
there's not.
Okay, all right. And did you want to say something? Okay, all right. So, questions from the committee? Tom?
Yes, the nature of the position he holds, that you hold, sir, the nature of your position is that you're working alone independently and therefore you need the license, or is it because there's others that work with you and you oversee, or you're the go-to? Thank you.
Anything? Mr. Peschel?
No, I have no.
And you live in Marshfield. And a little bit more, just you have 4 children, you said, and you're on probation, but that ends this month. Okay, okay. And you said something about you're moving into a home here in Marshfield. Okay, with your children. Okay. Let's see. All right. Anything else?
Nothing for me.
Assistant Chief, your turn.
All this prior, looks like.
No, we don't need, no. That's okay. I didn't know if you just had anything to add or.
No, I could shed some light.
No. Do you need to know anything more about that?
I'm okay.
I don't either. Okay, so if nobody else has any further questions, what we do at this time is we do ask you to step out. Assistant Chief will also be leaving the room. We'll close the door and we'll kind of talk amongst ourselves and bring you back in and let you know what we've decided. Do you have anything that you want to say? Okay, you got everything off your, okay, all right. So with that, we'll go to closed session to deliberate. Oh, let me get back to where I'm at. So number 8, closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute Chapter 19.851F, considering financial, medical, social, or personal histories or disciplinary data of specific persons, preliminary consideration of specific personnel problems, or the investigation of charges against specific persons, which, if discussed in public, would be likely to have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories or data or involved in such problems or investigations. And again, that will be regarding James E. Holmes' reconsideration hearing of his beverage operator application. Motion to go into close?
Oh,
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we are in closed session. grill window, so keep it clean. Congratulations.
Back to the table item.
All right, that's the end, right?
Table item.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot that we had tabled an item, so let's get back to my agenda here. All right, so we're going back up to number 6, a beverage operator application, Willie Foster, which we've kind of already discussed, and we're just going to see if Assistant Chief has anything else to add.
I don't at this time. It does not look like I'll be able to find that information in the time that you would need it in. So I guess I would leave it at that. I don't know if alcohol was involved in that violation from 2014.
I would make a motion that we grant the license to Mr. Foster with 25 points assessed for failure to properly complete the application.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Seeing none, he will be granted his license with 25 points. Are there any agenda items for the future meetings? None? Seeing those, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we're done.